and forest is our ancestral homeland. If government does implement the Eco Park project, it will be the violation of human rights, and it will be also the violation of ILO Convention 107. We hope that the government of Bangladesh will understand the culture of land ownership of indigenous peoples.
আমাদের সাথে বসছে অনেকবার ঢাকায় এবং বিভিন্ন জায়গায়, ওনারা বলছে মাত্র 14 শতক জায়গা নাকি আমাদের জন্য দেওয়া হবে একটা ঘর বানানোর জন্য। সেটাই আমি প্রশ্ন রাখছি, আমাকে বলে যে আপনারা মানিয়ে যান, ওই 14 শতক জায়গার মধ্যে আপনারা ওই করেন ঘর বাড়ি বানাতে পারবেন। আমি বলছি যে 14 শতক জায়গার মধ্যে আমরা ঘর বানাইয়া কি আমরা কি খাবো কি? আপনারা আমাদের সমস্ত জায়গা জমি আপনারা ইকো পার্ক করবেন, নিয়ে যাবেন, কিন্তু আমাদের তো কিছু থাকছে না, শুধু ঘর থাকছে। যে আমরা কি ওই ঘরের উপর পানি ঢালবো এবং পানি পড়লে আমরা কি পানি খাবো নাকি? এরকম আমি কথা বলছি। এরপরে বলে সরকার যে আপনারা মেনেন, মানিয়ে যান। কেন মানবো আমরা? আমরা যুগ যুগ ধরে এখানে আসি, আমাদের পিতৃপুরুষের এখানে মরছে, 14 পুরুষ মরছে, আমরাও এখানে মরতে চাই। কাজেই আমরা আমাদের এই জায়গার মধ্যে ইয়োগা করতে দেবো না। হয়তো করতে পারে সরকারি, তো আমাদেরকে সবাইকে মারিয়া।
Their protest reached the capital city of Dhaka, the largest organization of indigenous peoples in Bangladesh. The Bangladesh Adivasi Forum, on the occasion of International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples, made their opposition to the Eco Park the foremost issue of the day.
বছরের পর বছর আমাদের একই কথা বলে যেতে পারে। আবার ইকো পার্কের মানে আরেক ধরনের ন্যাশনাল পার্ক নিয়ে তারা আবার সংকট তৈরি করছে।
সেখানে যারা আদিবাসী যারা বসবাস করছেন, ত্রিপুরা, চাকমা, মারমা যারা বসবাস করছেন, তাদেরকে চিড়িয়াখানার জানোয়ারের মতো পরিণত করে সেখানে একটা ইকো পার্ক করার প্রচেষ্টা চলছে। আমি আজকে বাংলাদেশের আদিবাসী ফোরামের পক্ষ থেকে এই ইকো পার্কের প্রকল্প অনতিবিলম্বে বাতিল করার জন্য আমি দাবি জানাচ্ছি।
They are going to put us inside the boundary and they'll give gates in those places and we can't move frequently from one place to another. So we don't want this. We want to be by ourselves.
It was through this anti-Eco Park movement that they highlighted the fundamental issue of land ownership. This right is enshrined in ILO Convention 107 for indigenous and tribal peoples. Bangladesh is also a signatory to this convention and has ratified it, but is yet to implement it.
The ILO Convention 107 recognizes that the land indigenous people traditionally occupy and use, it should be recognized. So the land in the Khasi Hills under the ILO Convention 107 belong to the Khasi and Garo people. It should be recognized and land title should be given to the indigenous people.
The director of the Washington-based humanitarian organization, Justice and Peace Integration of Creation Office, came to see the plight of the Khashis and visited the Eco Park area.
Certainly there are laws and there are barriers, but I think we clearly recognize that titles to lands are something that have been created, by societies and by nations over periods of time. I look at a place like Sylhet, which historically may have at one time fallen under the control of the British, may have fallen under control of India, then into Pakistan, then into East Pakistan, then into Bangladesh. Well, aside from my just selling my land to somebody else, there's 4 or 5 different jurisdictions and 4 or 5 different governing bodies. And that's only in a very modern period of the last 150, 200 years. So it seems to me that how one determines what is the titling of land in this part of the world, and particularly in that specific region of this country, is something that needs to be handled very carefully and simply can't be taken by the existence of documents alone. Just before I left here, one of the states in the United States finally resolved a court case with one of the tribes in the state of Maine that was going on for 100 years. This particular tribe owned 3/4 of the state and could legally have laid claim to it in a treaty that was signed by the government with the tribe. The government chose to not recognize that treaty. They finally have resolved this in court. So that at least gives some indication in a country that's perhaps much quicker at dealing with things than Bangladesh, how long it took for this issue to be resolved.
When the agitation reached its peak in 2001, it was declared in the parliament that the Eco Park project would no longer be implemented. But in the Tepra tribal village at Sitakundo in Chittagong and in the Garo area in Madhupur forest, the government went ahead with its plans of building eco parks. Protests broke out in the Madhupur forest area. On January 3, 2004, police and forest guards fired upon a rally protesting the eco park projects. A Garo youth named Piran Snal was killed, while 25 others, including women and children, were injured. Hoisting Piran's body on their shoulders, the rally marched on. The Eco Park project then was suspended immediately. However, protest organizers fear that the work can resume at any time. It is a constant anxiety. If evicted, where will they go? Which hill will shelter them? Can they go up against the full might of the government? The Khashi, the Garo, and other indigenous peoples pass their days in such dread and fear. The only thing left to them is prayer.
I will not really justify, but I take it as my moral obligation that as a religious priest, I have a moral duty to take care of the spiritual development, and at the same time, it is also my moral obligation to look after their legal side, especially the land right, the cultural right, and the educational right.